What's up, everyone? So on the table is yet another Mantis, except we are going to do something that's kind of scientific. We are going to see what is, sorry, I saw something right there, but I think it's actually normal. Anyway, we're going to see if it's more beneficial, or will you get better performance, or just are you saving money, or what the true benefit of buying a aftermarket carb versus cleaning. Now, I know what you're saying. Are you really going to clean the same carb and put the aftermarket one on it? Oh, no. I want variability in there. We have its sibling right over there. That one is a little bit older, but oddly enough, they both seem to have great compression. They were both sitting in the same garage next to each other for years. However, I'm told this one would only take fuel to get started, considering that's what came out of her. Yeah, I don't know about that one, but we are going to install an aftermarket carb on this. This is nothing special. I bought it myself. No idea. Hutzel? Yeah. In this Hutzel, we get fuel line, garbage plug, couple primer bulbs, which we'll probably use for the cleaning of the other one. You can buy those separately, or you can buy them in a kit. And of course we get our carburetor, which looks like it has something in it. I don't know what that is. It's probably water. That's not very good. Well, we will prime that excessively to try to get the fuel out of it, or in it. Anyway, so I guess it's time to begin. So why are we doing this? Well, oh, that was loose. I didn't do that. I got a comment a while back, so ever since I get two of them, I try to do this, or just be a two-parter. The end of the second one is going to be this conclusion. But why don't you just buy a new carburetor? Or I think technically the other one is those aftermarket ones are crap, and it'd be better just to rebuild a good OEM one with stock parts. Or OEM parts, legit parts, let's just say that. And my response to that is probably. However, this is cheap and expensive. It will not last as long, however. It's very quick. And if you're doing this on yourself, as long as you take care of it, it'll probably last long enough where you'd be okay with doing it again later. I believe this carb kit was $15 or $16. So not a huge investment. Now I'm not going to be using the plug, because I refuse to use those. Been burned too many times by those aftermarket plugs, to the point where I'm just don't even bother. Now we need to take off the fuel lines. Fuel lines are held into place with this grommet, which we have a new one of. I'm just going to take a pair of pliers and pry that whole thing out. If yours is like mine, it has a truly lovely amount of water in the fuel tank, go ahead and dry that out before we do any of this next step. I did the same, dried it out, took a towel, pair of pliers, wipe it all around. You know, all that good stuff. Took my air compressor, stuff like that. Just make sure it's dry. I don't really know how your preferred method is, but just do whatever it is. You can take old WD. We might take a fuel line out if it's super. In fact, we might just do that anyway. We're going to take the clear line out because that one's a lot easier to put back in. It's a lot stouter. That bug hit in my mouth. I guess stout isn't really the word, just stiffer. There we go. This thing goes up in here. There's a little section specially made for it. There we go. Make sure it's not pinched. We're going to take a little WD, find this next hole. We will then there we go. Once you make it past a little pressure point where the tank meets it, it usually goes in pretty decently. So, very important gaskets. You need to find the right one. This side with the hole goes on the mating surface. This gasket with the 4 holes. So when you want one of those 4 holes, no matter what orientation you put in, will line up. That's why there's 4. At least I'm assuming that's why. And then the other one just goes on the other side in between the plate. Very important you don't forget that gasket. If you do, pretty much a vacuum leak waiting to happen. Or it's not a leak waiting to happen, it is a leak. Something to also note, if you have old fuel in here, you're also going to want to change it. Even if it smells good, just change it. There we go. That doesn't have to be super tight. If you do it super tight, you're not going to be able to pull the choke lever over. So reasonably tight. Yeah, the air filter's not the greatest, but it's also not the worst. It will filter air. There we go. And here's the NGK plug. I'm just going to leave the NGK plug. Like I said, I do not like the other ones. At this point, we're pretty much set. We have a new air filter, new fuel lines. When you put in the fuel lines, something I did forget to mention is make sure the fuel filter isn't like hitting a wall and getting tangled and getting crushed in itself and just in a giant ball of line. It needs to be smooth, straight, going towards the end, the other end of the tank. That way, when it's standing upright, it can be fully submerged with a weight on it. I'm going to put some fuel in here and we will see how well it runs. Want to know something that works really good before we do anything? How about we connect the fuel lines? Odd idea, huh? It's going to be really hard to show you while actually doing this. The fuel line that comes off this plate, or the black piece right beneath it, is the return. The other one is the actual fuel line. The other one should be, yeah, somewhere in the bottom over there. Can you see it? There we go. So I'm just going to connect them. We connect to make sure the lines are straight and not kinked. Now with the fuel fully tightened, fuel lines on, we're going to prime it. We should get some fuel in the primer bulb. Perfect. Okay, now we can actually pull on it. It's on the end of the table, and more likely than not, I will have my tuning tools ready because it most likely will be needing a tune. We're going to want to make sure that the throttle cable even moves. I'm gonna have to perhaps look into that a tad bit more. Bad news. Took the handle apart, and more or less this is the stop, just the safety, more or less, yeah. And there's also a spring somewhere around here, but this piece, this post that this throttle lever is supposed to sit on, like so. The other end is supposed to go into the other side. The handle, well, it's broken. So when I was pulling on it, it would end up like kinking. It would get stuck on the safety. So this is what I would consider a death of a machine. However, I think we are just going to fudge it. I'm going to drill that out and then put a screw in there, or a bolt, whatever, and or maybe even another like very coarse threaded screw. No, because then that can probably ruin the handle. I'm going to find something. I'm just going to shove something in there to make it work, and make sure it doesn't break. Have the new carb installed. I fixed the handle, so that shouldn't be a problem. More or less. I don't think I have another one. I just put a bolt through it that had no threads. I'll have to remember the exact name of them later, but basically I just replaced the shaft. That's it. Oh, there it is. I bought two because I wasn't sure of the length, and trying to measure two pieces that aren't fitting together already, it's a little difficult. But more or less, it's just one of these. The name is escaping me right now, but smooth. That way the threads aren't going to be grinding up against the plastic and ripping it off slowly every time you use it. And the end just has a little piece. And the throttle lever just sits over it, fit like a charm. Actually works pretty good. Anyway, let's see. I primed this like 10 times, and usually with these carbs you don't have to. We do want to take our adjustment screwdriver, because we might have to adjust it. I'm gonna let it, if it doesn't, idle though. I'm gonna rev it up, get it warm, but if it does idle, I'm just gonna let it sit there for a little bit, kind of get it warmed up, and then we'll play with the tuning if we need to. These carbs, they're good, but you know, they ship them everywhere, and everywhere is going to be a little bit different. That's why they are adjustable. So the likelihood of it being perfect is pretty nil. And naturally today, the day I'm able to do this, is like 102 degrees outside. Yeah, I have some tuning to do, but that's not really the purpose of this video. I'm going to get this fine-tuned, and then I'll bring you back, and we'll take a look at the aftermarket running. Okay, well, let me turn off this fan real quick. Hopefully you saw and heard the running. The revs up nice, idles nice. It is smoking a little bit, but if you can tell right now, the exhaust is actually, or the muffler is actually smoking. So the smoke that you see isn't an abundance of oil or fuel. It's just the excess of oil in the muffler. So that's an important thing to note, because tuning a 2-cycle, smoke is usually a good indication of richness. But in this case, it just means that someone else had a whole lot of rich problems and it's still being burned off. But point being, it is now running pretty good. So this is going to conclude this one. Go ahead and catch part 2 of this, where we're going to do pretty much the exact same thing, except this time we're going to clean the carb, replace the fuel lines, same fuel. The only real wild card is it is a tad bit older, so it could be, but the compression is very good, so I'm not too concerned about that. The condition of the motor is really the biggest wild card. So I'll catch you later. Have a good day. Definitely follow me on Instagram at SmallEngine101. I'll see you later, and don't forget to subscribe.